Looks like we're here today. I'm your host, Ed Parkove, Helping the Brave, and I'm here with Mohawk Matt Denny. Thanks for being here, Mohawk. Kristen Babick, thanks for being here.
Hello.
I appreciate you all here. And we have a special guest today. I met him, I don't know, a few weeks ago. He was on one of another podcast I have, and he had an amazing story. All I kept saying was wow through the whole thing. And so let me introduce him. Anthony Stephen Malone, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me on the show.
It's really our pleasure.
Yeah. Definitely excited to hear your
Very
story.
honored.
Yes. So just so everybody knows, Helping the Brave will be here Tuesdays and Thursdays, Pacific time, 2:30, East Coast time. You can figure that out. It's 5:30. But right, if you can't get a clock like I have to do, I have to add all those little numbers to figure out when we're going to be here. But do you want anything we need to talk about, Matt, before we get going? Any housekeeping? Any initiative?
No, I mean, there's only a couple people online. So once I see more people online, I'll give a couple housekeeping rules for those that want to ask Anthony questions.
All right. Sounds good. Anthony, you want to get into a little background of who you are and where you come from?
Yeah. Thank you again for having me on your show. My name's Anthony Stephen Malone. I'm a military veteran from the British Army, served in the Paratrooper Regiment, 4 Para, and then 3 Para. I then became an embedded combat photographer with 101st Airborne Division in Iraq. And then after that, I started doing some intelligence work. I ended up being an asset for the Central Intelligence Agency across the Middle East and Afghanistan.
Wow. I didn't even know we did that. I had no idea. Did you know that we went to other countries and pulled people into our stuff to do our... I had no idea.
I did
Sorry.
not.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember watching MASH, so I don't really know everything, right? So, and Hogan's Heroes, of course, right? You got to have those. Yeah.
Definitely.
Anyway, so his story is very unique from there. I don't know how much you want to get to it right now. Are we ready to go? The whole story? All right. So I remember asking you questions about your background and what you're doing. And then you went into how you were brought in to do a secret thing. And so you want to get into that part of it right now?
Yeah, I'll just like a little bit of background about who I actually am, then people can understand why I made the decisions that I obviously have made for Queen and country and to help keep America safe as well. I'm a 5th generation soldier, so in our family, being to serve Queen and country, it is an absolute honor. So my DNA, the way I was brought up on army camps, my family, my granddad, my great-great-granddad, everyone, my father, my uncles, all of us have served. So it's not unusual for me to go into the military. I joined the military in 4 Para when I was 17 and a half, got me British parachute wings, then went to 3 Para. A couple of years after that, done operational tours in Northern Ireland, Africa, Kenya, and in Cyprus. I then came out and started working in the private sector. I've always loved the American Airborne. They're just ultra professional. So I had the opportunity to become an embedded combat photographer with 101st Airborne. I thought that was an absolute honor. As soon as the guys in 101st found out I was a former British Paratrooper, especially in 3 Para, I wasn't treated as an outsider. Or not even a photographer. I was treated as one of them. There was actually times when I was with them that I had to put my camera down and pick an assault rifle up as well. And the guys, they trusted me implicitly. They also knew I had a lot of experience there, as well as met a gentleman who pretty much changed my life. At the time, he was quite an unknown gentleman called David Petraeus. He was General David Petraeus, in charge of 101st Airborne Division, and I met 2 of his colonels, Colonel Michael Pennington and Colonel Joe Anderson. They went on to be Brigadier General Michael Pennington and Brigadier General Joe Anderson. So they were the 3 gentlemen who influenced me a lot. David Petraeus, I'll never forget it, turned around after I helped him with an intelligence task and said one man can make a difference, and we did. One man can make all the difference out there. David introduced me to some people who were with 101st. Turns out they were working for American intelligence. And the rest, as they say, is history. That relationship grew. It grew outside of Iraq. That ended up being in Lebanon, Syria, Afghanistan. Then I ended up doing a little bit of undercover work. Nothing really special. It isn't glamorous or anything. I was helping to find locations of high-value targets, IED factories, and helping to stop terrorist attacks on American 101st Airborne and British soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. It then ended up I was quite good at working with the local population. At this point, I had a beard that was about 1.5 feet long. My hair was right down my back, even though I'm bald now. Back then, I was not. I went totally native. Obviously, I can speak a little bit of the language, understand the customs dramatically, and I also had spent 6 months living with the Bedouin along the Saudi-Iraqi border with no equipment, just literally living as one of them. That taught me a lot about the culture. From then, I grew from strength to strength. I ended up doing a lot of undercover work, and I ended up being in prison in Afghanistan for just under 3 years. And I was tasked with infiltrating the terrorist network there. I ended up being with Salahuddin, who is the head of operations for the Taliban now, and he's the head of the Haqqani network. I ended up spending nearly every day with Salahuddin for nearly a 3-year period, in which time I was feeding information back to American intelligence to stop terrorist attacks.
So you, Anthony, you went to prison voluntarily.
A opportunity arose, basically, and we had to make the most of that. We had been tracking, myself and my team. I'd like to say a big shout out to Trevor Cooper and Graham Hilliard, obviously veterans as well. We were tracking high-value targets, including Mullah Omar, Gobadin Hematia, and Salahuddin. We had an idea Salahuddin and other terrorist commanders were in Polishati jail. No one really knew the ins and outs of it. It's a very close-knit. Unless you're in there, you don't get to know what is happening. We got put in for a 3-month tasking. It lasted nearly 3 years. They wanted to pull me out. My answer was no. We've got an opportunity, and I took it. And it went from strength to strength in there. But me going inside, one little technical issue was I'm not an American. I am British. At the moment, I do not hold an American passport. And the British government were not at first told about anything that we were doing, what my taskings were, or information that I was passing back. So my own government was classing me as a terrorist commander under the name of Alauddin Saeed Ahmed.
Wow.
Yeah, how would you like that? Your own government thinks you're a terrorist.
Well, it kind of worked well, because one of the terrorist commanders in Helmand, when he was caught under advanced interviewing, dropped my name as being his superior. So you can imagine the Brits went ballistic about that, and my American friends thought it was brilliant, because it meant I wasn't just in, I was in properly.
Gave you credibility.
Gave me a lot of credibility, and my time in Saudi Arabia gave me a lot of credibility for Afghanistan. And previously, I had spent 6 months undercover in Lebanon in Hezbollah as well. So all this helped for the big one, which was Afghanistan.
Wow. That's quite the story, Anthony.
It works well. I've also got over 6,000 documents and photographs to back all that up as well.
What's amazing is, so tell the story of how you were taken out and what happened after that.
Oh yeah, this is where it gets really good.
You gotta love country that, anyway.
Yeah, we had. I was asked by Walter Downs at the time, who was my handler, my American handler, not if would I be willing to find and pass the location of Osama bin Laden to American intelligence. Not if I could. It was like, are you going to be able to get this squared away? Absolutely, not a problem. 6 to 7 months before bin Laden was taken out, till him 6, that information was passed on an index list, which said, number 1, high value target, UBL, Abbottabad, Pakistan, with a full target package on it as well. So I was the primary source, and my CIA contacts were confirmed I was the primary source in locating Osama bin Laden. End of.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
But it was just a part of the job. We did it. We ticked the box. Next, my objective was to stop. Every day in there, I was able to stop a terrorist attack on American or British soldiers. Where it got very personal for me was I lost 28 of my close friends over the years. A lot of them were in 101st Airborne Division, and obviously members of the Paratrooper Regiment. So Al-Qaeda and the bad guys were killing a lot of people that I actually knew. I also lost a close friend at the suicide bombing in Camp Chapman that killed the CIA team as well. So I was not happy about this. So to me, this was not a job. It was my life, and I was quite happy to give up my life to feed information back as well. Because every day in there was a soldier returning home.
Now, when you were in there, there were challenges in the beginning, right? To get them to trust you. There was a lot of, they probably tested you a lot while you were in there.
Oh, they tortured the crap out of me. So they wanted to know if I was really who I said I was, interested in being one of the bad guys. Was I an informant? They tried everything. They even tried poisoning me with rat poison. Nearly killed me, that did. Couple of other things to test me. To put the feelers out to say I was going to be executed one afternoon. So I walked into the Al-Qaeda corridor, straight past all the Al-Qaeda members who were sharpening knives at the time. Not the best decision I've ever made. Went up and spoke to Salahuddin himself personally and said, if you want to cut my head off, you do it yourself. Do not send one of your underlings. That was a bit of a game changer, because he took that I had the guts to go up to him, walk through all of his men, and say, if you've got a problem, let's sort it out. After that, we sat down and had chai, and we had a very pleasant conversation. Definitely not what I was expecting, and that was certainly not what he was expecting either.
So this went on for 3 years, because it was a 3-month, went for 3 years. All right. Yeah. How did you get out? How did you get out of the prison? Did they just let you walk out the front door?
Yeah, I was renditioned by the British establishment in chains, literally put in chains, dragged out, put on transport, taken to the airport, renditioned back to England. We didn't even know where I was being taken at that point, because the Brits had no idea who I was, as in what was really happening. The extradition unit, or the rendition unit at the airport, figured out something wasn't right when I turned around to them and said, right, what country are you taking to? Where's the American RSO? RSO is the CIA station chief. And at that point, they thought something wasn't right here. I gave them the personal mobile number of the CIA station chief. I said, I want you to ring him. I want it on speakerphone. I've got to inform him I am being taken out of Afghanistan. And in my possession is a black notebook with all the details of attacks that are going to go in against coalition forces in the next 24 to 48 hours. You can imagine the police at that point were like, what the hell have we got involved with here? I was then put on a plane in shackles, in chains, as a terrorist. When the plane was in international airspace, a couple of phone calls were obviously made back and forth to the cockpit. The guy in charge of the extradition unit came forward, took all the chains off me, and said, we've just realised and we've just been told who you are. You've been working for the American intelligence all these years. And I said, I cannot confirm or deny any of that until I speak to somebody. So they took all the chains off me. And I got brought back to England. Then the British were not happy that I had been working with the Americans. So instead of giving me a handshake and a pat on the back, they jailed me for 4 years on false charges. And they put me, quote, in the fridge until they can figure out what to do with me at this point in time. They wanted me to name all my team. They wanted to know the tasks I was on. I was like, nah, it is not happening. I was protecting the Bin Laden operation and other operations that were ongoing with my intelligence at that time.
Amazing story. Yeah.
Wow.
Matt, your mic. Sorry, he's trying to be quiet over there.
Gotta have it once. But Anthony, it's an incredible story, everything that you've done. And anyone would credit you to just like go to a beach somewhere and just relax for the rest of your life. But you didn't stop. You do so much now. So how did that kind of transition as you went from the things you were doing and some of those stories to what you do now?
I think being in a lot of, don't get me wrong, I do go through a lot of hard times. Those experiences, I never expected to walk out of Afghanistan alive. I knew I was going to pretty much be killed in there. If I had been caught copying, photographing, cloning the telephones of the Al-Qaeda operatives inside the jail, I would have been killed instantly. No question about that. But the risk was worth it, because to get all the numbers out and the plans out and record some of the conversations as well, that the planning meetings between Hezbollah, the Haqqani network, the Taliban senior commanders was happening inside the jail. There was a fully operational suicide bombing network being ran by Taliban. This has been confirmed independently now, and it was being ran from inside the prison. It was the perfect place to run it from, because nobody expected it. They had satellite phones, cell phones, laptops. It was a complete operations center, and no one knew it was there. And I accidentally stumbled over everything, and I was in the heart of it for a long time. I did know that the British establishment was going to try and charge me under the Terrorism Act. I could see that coming a mile away. So my only thing that I've ever asked from the American government was, I will do this. I will be a patriot. I will step up, and I will do all that is asked of me. But when my own country tries to charge me, I need to know I have top cover from the senior members of the American government to tell the British government I am not one of the bad guys. And the American government have done exactly that. They said Anthony is a non-official covert operative for American intelligence, and he has been for many years, and he has saved not just a lot of American lives, a lot of British lives, including stopping attacks in Europe, the United Kingdom, and homeland America. So you can imagine the political situation. The Brits were not happy. They were still coming to me for information. They weren't getting anything. It was only when I had it confirmed that Bin Laden had been killed, then I was happy to have a bit of a chat. But even then, they never officially debrief me ever. I ended up being Salah ad-Din's right-hand man for 3 years. He asked me to marry his sister when I got out of Afghanistan jail. So I would have been his second in command, and he's now the head of the Akani network, the head of operations for the Taliban. All right, you can imagine, and the Brits were more, wouldn't say unhappy. There was a couple of people who were no longer in the British establishment. They were moved. That they were embarrassed by what we had seen, what we had found. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a very foolish thing, because the Americans are our allies. We're all working together to stop attacks. What's the problem? Obviously, someone thought there was a problem, me working with the Americans. The Brits even turned around, which upset me dad a lot, and said that I had never served in the parachute regiment. Huge mistake, because a bit like in America, the airborne is a very close-knit family, and we all know each other. Turns out the bodyguards for the British ambassador were all former members of the parachute regiment. And they pulled him up about it and said, we're not allowed to talk in these meetings, but now we are. We served with Anthony in Northern Ireland. He is parachute regiment. His family is as well. So whatever that's going around is wrong. So yeah, so you can imagine the establishment wasn't overly happy, but now everything's calmed down. They understand I was one of the good guys. Life saved, job done. Tick that box, and we move on.
And you're able to write your books now, right?
Yep, I've written 4 books about my experiences. Honor Bound Road Warrior, Part 1 and 2. All proceeds from all my books, all my talks, and all my activities to do with my experiences goes to help homeless military veterans, both in America and the United Kingdom.
That's
Ooh, I
amazing.
love that. That's amazing.
Wow, that's incredible.
I think it's important, because a lot of my experiences were both bad. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. But I wrote a lot of it down. The books are not action books at all. They're very raw, real, honest accounts. I've written it myself as well. So I write as I talk, very matter of fact. This is how it is. My first book wasn't even meant to be a commercial book. I wrote it as a memoir for American intelligence to help anyone else who may become an undercover operative in the future. I wrote what works, what does not work.
Wow. So
that's what I kept saying every time I talked to him when I was on my thing. Wow.
Anthony,
So how did you decide that you wanted to send the proceeds, dictate the proceeds to help the homeless veterans? Was there anything else that you were interested in, or was that your main objective?
Yeah, I've been involved on and off in helping a lot of veterans for a lot of years. Now I'm one of the older ones. I'm not a young pup anymore, but I see a lot of the young guys who are half of my age who have done 3, 4, 5 operational tours. And they find it when they come out very, very hard. Relationships break down, they can't get jobs. So I thought, you know something? If I can speak out, being who I am, and being the background that I am as well. I do not have ego, not interested in any of that crap. I'm talking out. If a guy's out there, he needs a bit of a helping hand, I'm willing to help him. It escalated. I wanted to know what it was like to be a homeless soldier, or from a soldier homeless on the streets of London. I actually, myself and a group of friends, we went down to London and we slept on the streets as homeless people for a period of time with very basic kit. So then we could experience it. We could identify who the homeless veterans were, and we could help them. It was not easy when you don't have any decent kit. don't forget, we couldn't let anyone know. So if we turned up with all new kit, it would have been the notice. So we had second-hand gear, old jackets, unshaven, and obviously we smelled. So it would be as if we were homeless. Very humbling experience. That met some really nice people there who had nothing. At that point, I thought, you know something? I went home, which I've got a nice house, I've got a nice car. I just went to the nearest outward bound shop, bought a load of sleeping bags, a load of jackets, a load of food, a load of kit. Went down to everyone who I'd slept with, all the homeless guys who didn't know who I was, went out and handed everything out. And I gave them my number, and I've helped some of them get off the streets into proper accommodation. And some of them now are doing really well. They've got jobs, girlfriends, starting families. So sometimes just a little bit of help makes all the difference. I'm not a charity. I am a veteran talking to another veteran who's going through a hard time. So I've said, don't look at this as charity. It's not. I'm a former soldier who's just helping another soldier out. So it went down well. And because of that, it's expanded as well now.
That's really amazing. It's an amazing experience. How many days and nights were you out there?
I've done it a few times actually now.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I've done it a few times. I still keep in touch. I go down and keep in touch with the other guys who were helping as well. We made quite an impact because a lot of people, even the local police force, had no idea who we were. And I went from being a homeless guy, turned up in a S-Class Mercedes in a shirt and tie and suit, said, I would like to speak to the guy in charge of the station. And he recognized me. And he was like, oh my God, this is going to be interesting. I said, hi. I said, I'm Anthony Malone. How you doing? He went, did not see that one coming. Yeah, so I think the first time was about a week and a half. Then I went down for 2 weeks. Then it kind of just expanded.
So, Anthony, you give a lot of yourself and time to helping others, helping veterans through that. And you've had a lot of your own experiences. How do you recharge? How do you cope and deal with the things? Because I know we talked about that before we started, the PTSD and things like that. What do you do that helps you?
What I try and do, I've got a family. I've got 2 little girls. They take all my energy up. They keep me grounded as well. So spending time with family, very, very important. And I always work on me family. I come from a working class family, and my mum and dad always said, if you can help somebody, as long as you've got a roof over your head and food on the table, if you've got a little bit spare, try and help when you can. My grandma was exactly the same. My grandma was a massive influence on me, which is how I've turned out, I think, the way I actually have. My grandma was from Austria originally, and she survived the concentration camps, World War II. Wow. So that kind of determination and courage as well to help others was ingrained in me from a very young age. So I also enjoy doing a lot of training, a lot of fitness, but I always tell any veterans who are going through a hard time, because there is a lot of us out there that are going through a hard time at the moment across America and across the United Kingdom. Get your jacket on, get your boots on, go for a walk in the country, go for a walk in the countryside, the parks. Don't be cooped up in your flat or your house. Get out there, get a bit of exercise. And when you come back, you feel a lot better. Also, always speak. If you're having a bad day, we all get them. I get them now. Pick up the dog and bone, speak to somebody. There's a lot of good charities out there. There's a lot of organisations that are just on the end of a telephone or speak to somebody who is a veteran, because we all know what you're going through. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no reason why anybody should be thinking they're by themselves. They're actually not. You pick up the dog and bone and have a chat. End of. That is the way I deal with it. If I'm having a bad day, I'll actually ring a friend of mine who's a member of my team, Graham or Trevor. I'll either get a bit of a tough love off them. They'll give me a kick up the ass and tell me to sort myself out, or they'll give me an hug and say, you know something, bad day, get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a better day as well. And I do exactly the same for them as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, he did say he'd give a dog a bone, right? Is that what he said?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to pay attention to it.
I pet my dog and give it a bone. Is that what you said? Sorry.
Yeah. It means telephoning in England.
We got that. We know what that means.
If you didn't do this, I don't think
I don't think we would have got that. If you did this, like flipping the phone, we might have got that. He's got an amazing story. I mean, the one other thing he didn't talk about that he talked before was on visiting day in the prison is when they would do all their everybody would come in, and that's when they would do all their meetings, right?
Yeah, a lot of the what we discovered was people like Salahuddin's father. This is a very important point. Salahuddin's father was bin Laden's senior mentor and trusted advisor. His father and other brothers would come in on visitors' day. They were never searched when they came into the prison. The guards just opened the door and let them in. 95% of the prison guards in Polishaki, Afghan at that point were all either Taliban or they were related to the Taliban. The machine guns on all the walls, heavy machine guns, were not facing out, they were facing in. That point speaks volumes. People were more scared of who was inside the jail than what we were of anyone trying to attack it. And that is fact. People died. I saw it myself every day in there. Polishaki it's in the top 10 of most violent and horrendous prisons in the world. Right? Imagine your worst nightmare possible, and you're only like halfway there. I've seen bodies being cut up, thrown out the windows in this place. Right? It was the closest to hell I've ever seen, and I've been in war zones on nearly every continent. Okay, so for me to stay in there, believe me, was not easy. I wanted out. Some days I thought, what am I doing here? I mean, these people do not value human life at all. But then thought about it. Well, you know something? Stay in, stop an attack, get the new numbers. The Al Qaeda and the Taliban were swapping out their numbers every couple of weeks. I would just get the notebook, photograph it, get it out. So we were keeping on top of it. If I had walked out before the 3-year point, I doubt we would have found bin Laden. And conservatively, I've been told of American intelligence that I managed to stop over 100 attacks as well. So that's 100 soldiers going home to the families. So the difficult time, difficult thing to do. It was not easy, but it was a necessary objective at that time. Stay in, get information out. The amount of people in there, it was like over 5,500. 3/4 of them were terrorists. Now, I know I'm a British paratrooper, and paratroopers are always meant to be surrounded by the actual enemy, but this was getting ridiculous. I was like, you know something, I'm good, but I ain't that good. But my training with the parachute regiment and my time, very important, my time spent as an embedded combat photographer with 101st Airborne taught me an awful lot. And it gave me Some people say it was a foolish thing I did. Yes, totally agree with them. Was not a wise thing to do. Walking in the corridors, being one of the members of Al Qaeda and the Akani network, not a wise thing. But it enabled us to save lives. Saving lives, job done. That was the objective. There is so much that I'm not allowed to talk about that I saw and what we stopped. We uncovered a hell of a lot, which was one of the reasons why I think certain element within the establishment in England, not the government, I have no problems with the British government or the establishment per se or the Foreign Office. Just at that point, there was a couple of people who did not like the fact of what we did, and we were very successful. I'll say to these people, and I've actually met one of them and had a word in his ear as well, and just said, if a situation arises again, do the right thing. If you can save a life, you do it. It ain't about political gain or wearing a gong or promotion. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm a soldier. I'm the team leader. We get the job done and we go home, and that's it. But yeah, being in the prisons on Prisoners' Day, that was an experience. It got that bad where normally in a prison you might get, if you were to buy metrics, everyone in a particular block, you might get 1 or 2 hits you never expected. I organised that American intelligence came in and biometrics the entire block 10 and 9, everybody in it, and they got hits off everybody. There was terrorists that America was hunting in that jail under false names. Work that one out. The information I got back afterwards was something along the lines, I'll have to be careful how I translate this one, incredible. It was like a 99.9% hit ratio. So then they realized who Taliban was, Salahuddin, Motor Wakil, everybody who was in there. And I was highly respected, or they were scared of me as well when I was in there. Because don't forget, I had to play a part when I was in there. And what I did find out about Akani and the Taliban, they're actually scared of extreme violence. Work that one out. You do it to them, they don't like it. So if one of them was a bit late to go to the mosque, I would give him a little clip around the back of the ear and say, don't be late the next time. Something as subtle as that. They were like, oh my God, I mean, he's got the balls to do that. So after about a year and a half, 2 years, I actually became Saladin's right-hand man in there, which gave me access to everything, their telephones, their notebooks, everything. That was beautiful. We just fed it all straight back, and it saved a lot of lives. So yeah, Paul Sharkey, interesting times.
Why do you keep sharing your story? Because you have a target on your back. The things that you've done, what fuels you to keep sharing your story?
I think it's important so people can learn from everything I've done, everything we achieved, both good and bad. One little point, I saved Salahuddin's life in there. There was one incident. Taliban outnumbered a Akani network 10-1. Big fight broke out, a lot of injuries. Turns out the Akani network and Al Qaeda a lot more organized, a lot more professional, and we fought in the corridors literally side by side. Taliban wanted to kill Salahuddin. I thought, can't let that happen because he's my number one source of information. Stood by Salahuddin when everyone else ran. We fought hand to hand, beat the Taliban. End of. Pashtun Wali, which is the honor code. A life for a life. I saved his life. He will never forget that. On my return to England, he got a message to me and said, kudos, I wish we could do that to you guys. That was when he found out I'd been working for the Central Intelligence Agency.
Wow.
I'm in awe.
Yeah.
Anyone got any questions?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, gosh, I don't think anybody has any idea what it's really like to be in prison over there. Of course, all of these things that you're telling us, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, it was just an unfortunate situation. It happened. We span it round, turn a negative into a positive, saw the opportunity to save lives. We recognised our value targets, decided to stay in there, and off. As far as we was concerned, job done. It wasn't all doom and gloom. There was some very amusing stories in there. Well, one of them I'll share. Did you just break it a little bit? One morning I decided I would have a shave. Just cut the beard off and start again because it was really long. Having a shave by the barber in the prison. Halfway through, turns out the barber is a Taliban commander in there for beheading Westerners. Yeah, I was feeling really loved at that point. So I'm sat there as he's finishing off my shave around my neck with a slit throat razor. And this guy, he's just smiling at me. I'm thinking, I'm going to die here. This guy is going to take my head straight off. So I just smiled back and said, like in a translation, would you like some chai after this? We can sit and talk. And he said, I would like that very much. So I'm thinking, well, if he likes tea, he isn't going to kill me because I'm going to get him a cup of tea here. So I thought I might be okay here. So I've got to admit, that was the one day in there I thought I was now. I thought this is not going to be a good day, this one.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well, Anthony, for most people, I would say thank you. But because of the way that you talk and your personality, I'm not going to say thank you. I'm going to say get your shit together and go help more veterans. Jeez.
Exactly, mate. It's about, isn't it?
We do have a comment here from, this is actually, I know this gentleman. It's a Marine Colonel, Jim Shelton. So he's active duty right now. I've done some work with him. And thank you for telling your story. He loves it. So
yeah. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut in, but I think it's amazing, this story, because we don't know about these stories. We only know about what we heard in America and what we know about our troops doing. We really don't know what other countries or other people are doing. And I know it wasn't from the British, but I'm just saying it's amazing that you went in there to save American lives, save lives around the world. It's just amazing and astonishing to me to this day that listening to your story is just amazing. And I'm so happy that you came on here to share it with us and everybody who was listening or in the future who listens to this. And I really appreciate it.
I am honored to be on your show. And I hope if one person can learn anything from any of my talks, interviews, or reading anything about me, awesome. I am happy with that. If it inspires a veteran to reach out to another veteran, that's the important thing. I'm not bothered about me books or whatever. It's me past. I've ticked the box. I've moved on. I'm here now to help veterans going through a hard time. If I can call on my experiences to do that in America and in the UK, I'm happy.
Well, if you ever come into America, let me know so we can.
I'll
yes,
be over
me
there
too.
shortly.
you will.
Yeah. Did we have anything else we wanted today, or how we doing?
No, I think you've shared an amazing story. I actually do have one question. So, if you do a lot for veterans, if you could do more, what would it be?
If say hypothetically, if my books were made into a film, all right, if someone out there was interested in making this into a film, I would use the proceeds to buy a ranch in America, and it would be for veterans in the UK to go for a break, and in America as well. It doesn't have to be big or anything. Anything I could get is there. That is my objective. I will get that either through a film or writing another book. I mean, at least then veterans know, or especially the airborne. And what I find is a lot of guys in special operations do not like to talk about things if they've got issues. I just want them to know the door's always open. You want to come down for the weekend, a week or 2 weeks. My objective is to have somewhere for all these guys to go and stay. It isn't going to be posh, isn't going to be a hotel. It'll have a bed, it'll have a fridge, there'll be food in the fridge there as well. I mean, so that's my objective now.
Well, I'm pretty good with the camera phone. I can
No, but yeah, that would be amazing. I'd like to see that movie, because they already made one about Bin Laden and the SEAL team going in there. We need to have one where they got the information from and how they got it, because nobody will believe it. You know what I mean? This is just unreal. So
there is so much more that would make for an interesting film. But as long as it's kept true to what happened, not interested in it becoming an action film at all. As long as it stays true to the facts of what happened, both good and bad, I will be happy with that. And people can learn a lot from my experiences as well.
Yeah.
So what's next for Anthony?
No idea yet. I'm just hoping we've got a couple of projects on at the moment. I've actually just been made the patron of Mal Kosh Mission International in Sierra Leone. So I'm going over there to help the children, the amputee children of the Blood Diamonds Civil War as well, helping them with education and medical missions over there as well.
When you get done over there and you come back and you share your stories of what you see over there when you come back?
I would love to hear that.
Yeah, that's going to be an amazing experience as well. And I will come and see you as well when I'm over stateside very shortly as well.
Please do.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You know how to get a hold of me.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to thank anybody who's been watching, and if you're listening to this, to this on our podcast, I want to appreciate you for doing that. If it's on YouTube, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Please get the word out that we're doing this twice a week. We really want to get more people to come to a place to where they can get answers, they can get help, because just like you said, most vets will not ask for help. They think it's a weakness, when in reality, you ask for it on the field. You're doing when you're in it, you ask. Yeah. You shouldn't have a problem asking for it when you really need help, but I know people don't as vets. So
yeah.
And thank you again for being here today, sir. Anything else before we go?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your time.
No, thank you so much. I'm in awe. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for having me on the show. And thank you for all the viewers for coming in as well.
You got a big thank you from Colonel Shelton there, too. Down in
Camp Lejeune.
Okay, Sheldon, thank you. And stay safe as well if you're still on active as well.
He is. So
good, man. Okay, guys.
All right, Anthony, don't hang up. And everyone else have a great evening.